Zoom polls are new for us in AUSD. A Zoom poll is when you're in one of those Zoom meetings and on the screen a little dialog box pops up and there's a question with some multiple choice answers, and all the students or all the participants can select their answer and we can see the results. So we're going to talk about how to create those polls. One thing to keep in mind is that Zoom polls are indeed meeting specific. So I'm going to do a few things. I've got two different Zoom links here. I'm going to click on my history class. And when I open up that meeting, I'm going to scroll to the bottom of it, and I can see that I actually have 3 polls already created for this meeting, and I can add more. I can pre-make some polls before my meeting starts, and even if I'm in that meeting, I can create a poll right then and there on the fly, and it will get added to this bank of polls for my 7th grade history that I can reuse again and again. So that's an example of how I've got some polls already. I'm going to back up for a minute and I'm going to go into a different meeting. I'm going to go into my 6th grade core department meeting, and I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and we don't see those polls yet, but if I come to the bottom, there's the add button right here, and that will start me adding my poll. So when we add a poll, we want to give it a title, and that's maybe not the same thing as the question, but maybe it is. So maybe our title for this would be something like parts of speech. And I might have a series of questions like, which is a noun? And I can say the following words: cat, run, sleepy. Those are going to be my multiple choices, and they're only going to get to choose one. They don't get to vote more than once. I can come down here and I can add another question, because this is all about parts of speech, which is a verb. And now it's going to be something like, well, I can actually do the same ones again. Cat, run, and sleepy. And if I wanted to give them multiple choice options, I could do that. And I can add up to 25 questions per poll. That might be a few too many for us right now. When I'm done, I'm going to hit the save button. There we go. Now that poll is right here, and it's called the parts of speech poll. So that's a pretty content specific poll or exit ticket or engagement check. And I would have had to really plan that out ahead of time, that those are the exact questions and answers that I want to ask. And those might only be the right questions for like one day. And so we're maybe thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to end up with hundreds of polls. And you could. But I'm going to offer you an alternative. Instead of making such a specific poll, I'm going to go to my Google slide deck. And I want you to imagine that this is a slide I'm going to use with my students. It's the Zoom poll. The question is, which is Miss Fairy's cookie? And I've given them their multiple choice options: oatmeal, chocolate chip, peanut butter, etc. And here's where the content information is. But coming back to Zoom, when I'm going to make that poll, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to create a multiple choice question that's very generic. Select your answer based on the slide in front of you, A, B, C, or D. So I can just change my slides, but only have one multiple choice poll. And this is I've named it multiple choice A, B, C, D, because I'm going to give them 4 choices. Maybe I want to have another multiple choice, and this one will be multiple choice AB. And this time the kids will only have 2 choices, and I'll save that one. And so I've got a 4-point multiple choice. I've got a 2-point. This one, what is my dog's name? That's the example of the really content-specific poll. And we can see from our meeting page, we can see exactly what our questions are at any given time. And I can go in and I can always delete one of them. Maybe I want to add one that is multiple choice, but choose more than one. So choose more than one. And so I can say, select all the right answers. Maybe choose the right answers or all that apply. So in case there's more than one possible answer. And maybe I want to have something like a true false. So if we create something that's more generic, and I'll go ahead and I'll start this meeting. When I launch my polls in that meeting, I get the ABCD, I get the choose more than one, and then I'm just going to project my Google slide in a screen share. So we're going to demonstrate what polling looks like in a Zoom meeting, and I've got 2 students to help me out. One of them, LMS student, is totally fictional. That's why he doesn't have a camera on. The other student is Ezra, my son, who likes to help out with these. Thanks, Ez. So as a teacher in a Zoom, I can come down to my menu bar down here and I will see the polls feature. Once I click on that, I will see my pre-made polls. So this is poll number 1 about food. And if I click on this down arrow, I'll see my other pre-made poll as well. I'm going to start with this pre-made poll. Which is better, cake or cookies? And if this is the first time in this Zoom session that I've done this poll, it will say launch polling. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to launch that poll. And now the students see this little dialog box in front of them, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to make their votes. And as the teacher, I can see those votes coming in, or those answers coming in. And I see 2 out of 2 or 100% voted, so I can end the polling. And maybe I want to keep that information just for me, but maybe I want to share the results. And these are anonymous results. They can't see who voted. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit share. And Ezra will tell us, can you see the answers? And do you see any kid names with that, or is it anonymous? It's anonymous. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing those results. Now, maybe I want to ask the question again, and it's the exact same question. I can relaunch it. That wipes the votes out from before. And now the kids have the same question and they can vote again or answer again. So if I'm doing something like checking for comprehension, I might actually ask the same question at the start of a Zoom and at the end of the Zoom and see how much we've learned. And we can see right now that both of them have voted 100% and they're agreeing that cake is the right answer. So again, I can relaunch a question I've already done. I'm going to close out of that. And I'm going to talk about, that was a pre-made question that was very specific. Which is better, cake or cookies? And if we know that ahead of time, we can have a really targeted Zoom poll question. But sometimes we're not sure what the actual question is that we want to ask our kids during that Zoom. So I'm going to show you how to work around that a little bit. So over here, I've got my slide deck. And one of the things I have is I have a slide that says Zoom poll. Here's where my question is, which is Miss Fairy's favorite cookie. And I'm using the multiple choice A, B, C, D. These are my 4 choices in my poll. So keep that in mind. In my Zoom meeting, I'm going to open that window back up again. I'm going to screen share. And I could present this whole screen for the students as well. So right now, Ezra sees the Google slide that says, which is Mrs. Frey's favorite cookie. He sees the A, B, C, D answers. And now when I am going to come up here, because now I'm screen sharing. Oops, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me move it. When I come up here, that's where my menu bar for Zoom has gone, and my poll is up here. And this time, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my multiple choice poll, and what the kids see is just select your answer based on the slide in front of you. And so he's going to just pick A, B, C, or D, and he's going to answer that. So let's launch that. And so now the kids see that window, and they can always drag it around their screen so that they can answer the question. And we've got one with D. And then we're going to end polling, and we can see the results that it was split between C and D, right? Chocolate chip cookies or oatmeal raisin cookies. Neither one of them is right. It's oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. That's tragic. Okay, so that let me have my slide that was content specific, but my poll just had the A, B, C, Ds on it. And so that lets me launch that poll. I'm going to stop my screen share for a sec. That lets me launch a very generic poll at any moment, right? I can always relaunch, select your answer based on the slide in front of you, A, B, C, or D. And that way I don't have to make content specific Zoom polls. So that was a little bit on how we can pre-make a Zoom poll. But sometimes we want to make one on the fly in the middle of our teaching, and we can absolutely do that as well. So again, I'm in my Zoom, and I'm going to come down to polls, and this time instead of selecting one of my existing two polls, I'm going to click the edit button. And hold on, whoa, my screen did a really big hiccup, and so it's taken me away from seeing the kids, and it's kind of put me in Zoom Central. And right now, I'm going to make a poll in this instant. So I'm going to do, what is my dog's name? And so that's the title of the poll, actually, and that's going to be the same thing as my question. And then maybe I'm going to have a couple of choices here. And we're maybe realizing that this is a problem, that it's going to be really hard as a teacher to do this while you have kids sort of staring at your face typing. I'm going to come down. I could have added another question. I'm going to hit the save button. And now I'm still back in my meeting Zoom Central, so I have to reopen my Zoom meeting. And now that third poll is there for me, and I can launch that in front of the kids. And hopefully they'll be able to vote. And we can see that both of them got that right. Excellent. Good job, Ez. So we can absolutely make a poll in the middle of the Zoom. But Ezra probably saw the teacher concentrated face as I was trying to type that in, and he's just staring at me typing. But it's possible to do. So we reviewed two different ways to do Zoom polling. You can do it live in your Zoom, or you can pre-make some polls ahead of time. And we talked about how when you pre-make a poll, you can make it very content specific, or you can make a more generic one and use your Google Slides as your launching space for that poll.